Sue Smith sitting in for Aaron Rand. Great to be with you this afternoon. And it's time to talk tech. We've got Carmi Levy on the line. Hi, Carmi.
Hi, Sue. So good to be with you.
Always great to talk to you. Carmi is CTV's tech analyst. And, well, I don't know if this is techie, but it certainly has to do with online streaming and that kind of thing, which, to be honest, I'm a bit confused. So Ottawa was going to levy a tax. It's being called the Netflix tax. Now they're taking it away. What's the story?
Yeah, so I mean, it all has to do with the Online Streaming Act that became law a few years back, and as part of that, the government asked our national telecom regulator, the CRTC, to come up with the rules, and the CRTC said, okay, we're going to charge these streaming companies, so Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus and Apple TV, we're going to charge them 5% of their Canadian revenues, and they're going to have to put that money back into Canadian productions. And this is no different than CanCon rules that have been in place for music and for other forms of content for years. If you're a broadcaster, for example, you've been paying into that forever. I mean, that's just part of the deal of doing business in Canada. But of course, as we all switched over to the internet and increasingly consumed via the internet, these American companies weren't paying their fair share. So that was really the deal, was that they would pay their fair share. They called it the Netflix tax. Well, now, thanks to a very thready trade situation with the U.S., obviously our relationship with the U.S. has kind of gone downhill. The Americans saw that as, they called it an irritant. It was an annoyance. They didn't like that Canada was charging American tech companies for this. And so now the federal government, as part of a court filing that was released earlier this week, they're showing that they are likely going to back away from that. In other words, they will no longer have a financial contribution requirement for companies like Netflix and Apple, and instead the government is going to provide that funding to the tune of about $600 million a year.
Wait, our government, the Canadian government?
Federal government, exactly.
Wow. Okay.
So, and on the one hand, you and I are going to pay one way or the other. Either we were going to pay that in higher Netflix costs and yes, Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus, or we were going to pay it through our taxes. So take your pick. But what this means is that it's one less thing to get the Americans upset as we move forward in trade negotiations. And if you're in the content industry, it means that the federal government's now going to be writing some checks so that actors and writers and producers and all that, they will now have access to funding to create Canadian stories. And so if you're a fan of shows like Schitt's Creek or Heated Rivalry, then, it means that there will likely be more money in the years to come for these productions. Canadian voices will continue to be heard.
Yeah, I mean, that's putting a really positive spin on it, Carmi, don't you think? Because, I mean, there already is Canadian federal money that goes towards that kind of thing. I mean, anything that comes from Canada, there's always all kinds of thanks at the end for various funding bodies.
Sure.
And so are we backing off completely? Like, my understanding, it was going from 15% to 5%. Now it's like none?
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like they were like the letter to the court shows that the Canadian government intends to eliminate that financial contribution requirement completely. So it went from 5, then it went to 15,
yep,
then the federal government, Mark Carney, said, "Oh, look, CRTC, we're going to review that, and we're going to come up with a different policy direction." It looks like the policy direction is no more fees at all, and it's going to come from taxpayers' pockets. And so, yeah, it is positive, but at the same time, if you're the kind of Canadian who wants Canadian stories to be told by Canadians, and you want to make sure that those stories show up on platforms like Netflix and Apple TV Plus, then there is going to be continued funding for those kinds of stories to be told, and hopefully for those kind of stories to be shared in other countries as well.
It's funny. I do have a few friends who went as part of the sort of U.S. boycott, went off Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Prime, like a lot of those things. And it's kind of, it's not easy. There is a service called Canopy that streams, Canadian stuff. It's kind of like a library service. But it's hard to go cold turkey, Carmi. I must admit, I quit everything except Netflix.
Yeah, Crave. Exactly. It is kind of hard. I mean, look, for us, there's still a Crave is still an option for us as well. But you're right. In order to keep every last dollar from our consumer pocketbook in Canada, it's kind of hard to find options, and it's also kind of hard to ensure that we still have good things to watch or the same things that our friends are watching, because nobody wants to be left out of what the latest and hottest show is.
Yeah, which is hilarious that for so long it was Schitt's Creek, but I mean, that was such a great show. So, and the Canadian legislator reading out an apparent LLM response. What is this about?
So this is an interesting story. So Bill Oliver, he's a member of he's an MLA in New Brunswick, and he is a member of the Progressive Conservative Party, but he could be a member of any party. And so he was giving a speech in the House last month, and he was reading the speech, and then as he's reading, he sort of switches gears and he starts reading. He goes, here's a more natural flowing version of that section that reads like a legislative speech rather than a series of short points. And so anybody who's ever used a chatbot like ChatGPT knows that whenever you ask it a question and then it gives you the answer, at the bottom of it, it always gives you like a little
Prompts.
line, like, what else do you want to know?
Yeah.
So this is exactly, so clearly somebody, either Mr. Oliver himself or maybe one of his assistants, had a chatbot like ChatGPT write his speech for him. They've then proceeded to cut and paste it into a document, which they handed over to Mr. Oliver, who clearly didn't read it before he got into the House, and he got caught using AI red-handed without being upfront about it. This is an example. I mean, obviously, if you're going to use AI, be transparent about it, especially if you're an elected official. If I were in his riding and I was a citizen, a voter, and I expected him to represent my interests in the House, I'm sorry, but elected officials should not be using chatbots sight unseen without even reviewing the output and passing that off as actual representation. It's kind of it's a negative for democracy from where I sit. I'm still waiting for his apology. He hasn't apologized yet, but we're seeing lots and lots of this. People using AI but not being clear about it. And unfortunately, in this case, this guy got caught, and he's now a bit of a laughingstock globally. There are stories coming out from all around the world laughing at the Canadian politician who clearly doesn't know how to use chatbots.
Yeah, except for most of them are also thinking, oh, thank goodness it wasn't me.
That's right. We're all one cut and paste away from disaster.
Exactly.
So something to think about when we use these tools is, do we want to hand our voice over to them? And so using a chatbot is not a black and white thing. There's a lot of shades and gray in between. Yeah. And you can use it to help the brainstorming process. You can use it to help kind of move your writing process forward. What I think we need to be careful about is having it completely replace our voice as humans. And obviously in this case it did, and things didn't go well for him. So don't get rid of ChatGPT or Google Gemini or others so quickly, but be really careful about how you use them. Otherwise, you could land yourself in hot water as well.
Yeah, and it also says something about politicians, too. I mean, whether they write their own speeches or not, but they just, obviously not prepared, right? I mean, he just got up there and started reading.
Exactly. And I think in this new age, especially if you're working with a team of people who are handing you content to, read in the House or share in front of a press conference, I think the lesson here is read everything beforehand and ask yourself, could this get me into trouble? And, don't just take things sight unseen and just assume that they're fine. In the age of AI, that's probably not the best strategy.
All right. I want to get to the story about creeps because apparently there are AI, Carmi, pervert glasses? What are pervert glasses?
It's a derogatory term for smart glasses. You can buy them from Meta. Meta sells Meta Ray-Bans or Meta Oakleys. They sort of partnered with glasses companies, Luxottica specifically, to create them.
I've seen them. I've actually been with someone who was using them.
Yeah, they're really cool. And it's like taking a smartphone and taking all the guts of a smartphone and kind of building it into a pair of glasses. And I'm a glasses wearer, so I'd love to have a pair. They're pretty awesome. I've tried them out as well. Remember the Google glasses from years ago? Mm-hmm. Those kind of looked really techy. So it was obvious when you were wearing them that you were wearing smart glasses. Whereas if you look at these Meta glasses, they look like a pair of Ray-Bans. And you can't really tell. The only tell is when the camera is recording, there's a little light that flashes and it kind of shows that it's on. But you can hack that, or you can put tape over it. You can even order the tape on Amazon, and it's fitted to the glasses. Ew. And so Instagram, the head of Instagram, a guy by the name of Adam Mosseri, he released a statement saying that if anyone buys these glasses and then uses them to creep people, to harass them, or engage in any kind of sexual harassment, which is very common, lots of kind of really creepy behaviors that largely men are using in public and then sharing it online.
Like basically recording? Sorry, I need to know more. But are they recording women without their consent? Is that it?
They're walking up to complete strangers and they are recording them without their knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
And then they are sharing it online,
That's
which crosses
creepy.
a whole bunch of lines.
Oh, yeah.
And so Instagram is saying, if you do that, we're going to take the content down. We're going to ban your account. And they're using the term pervert glasses because we're seeing lots of reports of misuse of this technology. And it's something for all of us to keep in mind. You're walking down St. Catherine Street. You never know. Someone wearing glasses could be recording you without your permission, even without your knowledge. And next thing you know, you're some viral star online and you never consented to this.
Wow. Okay, yay tech.
Yeah, yay tech and yay for Meta for kind of recognizing that this abuse can happen and doing something to clamp down on it. It probably won't stop it, completely, but at least it raises awareness of it. And I think it puts platforms like TikTok on notice. You probably should be introducing similar restrictions on your platform too.
But it's that age-old debate about so many different things. Is it the invention itself or is it the people who use it, who misuse it, or
yeah, exactly. Technology is neither good nor bad,
That's
right?
it.
When a company invents something, it's benign. It's how we choose to use it. So either you can choose to use it to, in a medical situation to help conduct a better surgery and to be better at training future surgeons, which is one great use of smart glasses, and you can use it in search and rescue situations and all sorts of, really benefiting humanity kind of scenarios, or you can use it to, as a creep. Take your pick. And so I'm not going to blame the glasses. I'm going to blame the people who are using the glasses, deciding to use it for evil, not good.
God. Carmi, great talking to you. We'll talk next week.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Sue.
you.
Appreciate it.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.